What's up, everybody? Miraculous Ladybug just released its newest world special, this time having Ladybug herself go all the way to Japan with none other than Kagami. This is probably the most famous world special yet, as in this one, instead of using the new 3D animation or even just the old 3D animation, most of the special is actually 2D animated in Japan. Of course, this is because it's not just another Miraculous world special, but a backdoor pilot for an upcoming series on Disney Plus called Miraculous Stellar Force. In this special, Kagami convinces Marinette to run off to Tokyo with her in order to help some old friends of hers who have now become superheroes, giving us a chance to meet these new heroes, learn about their villains, and set up the series that we'll be seeing soon. I absolutely love Miraculous Ladybug, and I especially love when it does crazy things like in this special, so this was one of the favorite things that the franchise has put out. So forgive me if this is less lore-based, and more just me talking about how much I love this special and what it sets up for the new show. Now, this special actually takes place before Season 6, and because of that, it opens with the earlier animation from Season 5 and before. This is something a lot of fans are nostalgic for at this point, even though it's only been about half a season since we've seen this look, and a lot of people really hated it back when it first started. But for me, it just felt a bit refreshing to see these characters in this form again, and then later seeing them turn 2D and anime styled when they go from Paris to Tokyo. The story starts with Marinette just wanting to be romantic with Adrien before she's quickly pulled into an adventure by Kagami, who wants to go help her old friends who are a superhero team now but aren't really getting along with each other. On the way there in their private jet, Marinette asks Kagami what Japan is like, and Kagami says it's very different from Paris, setting up the joke as they descend into the clouds in 3D animation and come out the other side in 2D animation as they fly over Tokyo. This special is very much about international cultural exchange and the joys of it. So to start, we get this really fun scene where Marinette says that Tokyo actually looks a little bit like Paris because of this building here that looks like the Eiffel Tower. This is the TV Tokyo Broadcasting Tower, which, as Kagami says, was actually inspired by the designs for the Eiffel Tower, but which has become a very iconic part of Tokyo now, even appearing in other magical girl anime produced by Toei, such as Sailor Moon. The real joy of this first act is getting to see Marinette experience Japan and all of the little tropes we love of Japan from Japanese anime and really Japanese media in general. When they first arrive at Kagami's grandmother's house, we get this funny little bit where Marinette forgets to take off her shoes when entering a Japanese home, which is custom there. We also get to see the very well-drawn Japanese food, and then we get to see Marinette eat it in Japanese anime style. And to top it all off, Kagami forces Marinette to take a bath with her. Now, all of this is a really big thing for Ladybug and Ladybug fans because, as a lot of you know, the original Ladybug pilot was actually produced by Toei as a 2D anime show. In the end, it was decided to make it a 3D series because it was cheaper to produce and was seen at the time as appealing more to children. Though Toei was still involved with its production, and it still maintained a lot of its Japanese themes and references to Japanese anime. So it's a lot of fun for me and for a lot of fans to see it going back to its roots. Now, with this being a backdoor pilot, it's largely about this new cast of characters known as the Stellar Force that Kagami was friends with back when she lived here in Tokyo. In the group chat, we see that they have trouble working together as a team, and that's why Kagami's called Marinette in, as she's the guardian of the Miraculous box, and as such has been working with guiding a very large team of superheroes, especially more recently in Season 6. Marinette, however, realizes that Kagami isn't very confident with this friend group, the way she has become in Paris with Marinette and her other friends there. And because of that, she thinks that Kagami has actually pulled her there more as emotional support for her. The big twist, according to Kagami's grandmother, is that Kagami actually had a boyfriend in this friend group, though that isn't exactly true. From the grandmother's perspective, they were probably just boyfriend and girlfriend, a boy and a girl who hang out every day and go on things that we would probably also call dates. But as we will learn later in the series, it turns out they never actually dated because this boy, Kitsune, is actually in love with another member of the Stellar Force team, Miki. Now, before Marinette gets to meet these characters, we actually got to see how Kagami met them in a flashback of her first day at school. Here we see that most of the students at this international academy are all high achievers just like her, as that's the only kind of school that Tomoe would probably send her daughter. They're each supposed to be hyper intelligent, and each are supposed to have their own unique sport that they're the best at, leading to that sport influencing their fighting style on the Stellar Force. The way Kagami became their friend is absolutely unhinged, as she challenged Miki with a deal that if Kagami can beat her record to touch a button on some obstacle course, that they could be friends for 2 weeks. And of course, instead of actually doing the obstacle course, Kagami just launches her fencing sword from across the room and hits the button. It's here where she also ends up meeting her short king Kitsune, where in typical Kagami fashion, she was too intimidated to even shake his hand because, you know, the tension. Now, Kagami was a part of this friend group and even joined their group chat that ended up turning into their superhero chat, but she never actually sent any messages there because of how shy and timid she was. Her real friendship ended up being with Kitsune in particular, and while she does know everyone and is friendly with them, it explains why she still ended up in Paris not really knowing much about friends or how to be a friend. What she got with Kitsune is the first time a friendship wasn't arranged, as everything in her life had been arranged before that. The whole point of making a deal with Miki to be her friend for 2 weeks was that Kagami doesn't understand friendship being about wanting to actually be friends. But unfortunately for Kagami, as she developed feelings for Kitsune, he developed feelings for Miki. Or rather, he already had feelings for Miki and has since they were small children. After Kagami and Marinette have a little heart-to-heart about this situation, we get to our first fight in the city with a giant kaiju. This is where we get to meet the core team of the Stellar Force, which is a rather large group based off of the constellations of the Zodiac, but for this scene focuses on just 5 members to make them look like a team of Power Rangers. This was really cool for me, as I always wanted a fully animated Power Rangers series, and the important thing is making sure you actually deliver on the action sequences, which I definitely felt like they did in this special. Kazuno, Kagami's lover boy, ends up being the Capricorn Black Ranger, and our blonde Miki, of course, is the Yellow Leo Ranger. The team is cool, but they clearly don't work well together, and their group chat had them arguing about who should be leader or whether they should have a leader at all, and that's where Ladybug comes in. Or at least where she's supposed to come in, but she doesn't feel like she has the authority to tell these people how to act and how to balance out their own dynamics. Because of that, Kagami tries to interfere, and the team does end up coming together in order to create a laser cannon, but this goes horribly wrong when Marinette realizes that this isn't an ordinary kaiju that the Stellar Force has been fighting this time, but a kaiju that has a human inside of it. At this point, the big villain here, known as the Modeler, has realized that the humans don't want to hurt other humans while trying to save the day, and by putting a human inside of the monsters he had been making previously, he thinks he can get the kids to stop killing his monsters. At first, they didn't even realize this, so they actually just blow the guy up, but when Ladybug realizes that there was a human in there, she's able to use her lucky charm in order to fix anything that a villain destroyed. And in this case, it allows her to recreate the kaiju, with the Stellar Force themselves being the villains. This makes sense, as in Season 6, we've seen that the lucky charms can be used to indicate villains that aren't the ones Ladybug is actually after, with the episode Sublime indicating that it was actually Ladybug herself who was the villain whose damages needed to be fixed. With that in mind, she's able to bring the kaiju and thus the human back to life, which to me, I think proves that Adrian actually died in the episode Where Papa's, where his amok was destroyed temporarily. But I'll let you guys debate that one in the comments down below. Now, with the kaiju restored, they still have to defeat the monster and get the human out somehow, and thanks to the power of teamwork, they realize that their awesome abilities aren't meant to be used one-on-one in order to solo against these giant beasts. Instead, with Kazuno being able to identify the points that they should attack, the team is able to work together in order to defeat the kaiju and get that human out. But it doesn't fix the bigger issues that the team has as a whole. Because of this, Marinette ends up using Kagami's phone in order to get the team to meet together as humans and reveal their secret identities to each other. Though not Ladybug's, of course, just Kagami's. But it turns out a large part of their conflict is coming down to Kazuno and his place in their group. You see, Kazuno's in love with Miki, as we said, but it turns out Miki is also in love with Kazuno. The problem is that, like Kagami, Kazuno's just too shy to admit his real feelings. And even though Miki loves Kazuno and is aware of his feelings for her, she refuses to make any move herself, as victory, or in this case love, has to be earned. This is a really fun use of her hyper-competitive nature, and sets up the dynamic that will be explored in the show, where the two are clearly in love with each other, and maybe Miki is even trying to get Kazuno to admit it, but Kazuno just can't address his feelings yet. He's just a lot more reserved. It's the fun kind of complicated dynamic you want for an ongoing series, and it's very similar to the one Marinette had with Adrian in the first 4 seasons before they finally got together. And to emphasize that these two dynamics are going to be similar and that the Miki and Kazuno dynamic will be the backbone of their new show, we have Marinette stating that this is complicated even for her. The real issue isn't Kazuno and Miki's dynamic here, however, but how Kagami interfered with it by not expressing her true feelings to Kazuno. We find out at the end of the special that Kagami wrote a letter for Kazuno expressing her true feelings as she was about to move, but in the end she was too shy to actually deliver that message. And this left Kazuno feeling unsure of where he stood in general. Kagami is able to express her feelings for him in the end, not that she still has them, but because she wants to see him go on with his life and express his feelings for Miki. And that isn't going to happen in this special because that's going to be the point of the show, as we said, but it gives him the confidence he needs to act as part of the group so that they can combine together and create a giant robot in order to fight all these kaiju. The show is meant to feel a bit more international instead of just Japanese, with the Stellar Force team not just being at an international school, but with each character being from a different part of the world. But it's here where we get to really embrace all of the Japanese entertainment tropes. We get to see our heroes transform like magical girls such as Sailor Moon, but they end up becoming more like Power Rangers, or as they were known in Japan, Super Sentai, with Super Sentai and Sailor Moon both being produced by Toei as well. They end up fighting some legitimately terrifying kaiju that I actually found more scary than the monsters seen in Gyo Tokyo, which maybe don't watch if you're not into that sort of thing. And to go into battle herself, Ladybug ended up putting on a Kamen Rider mask mask and hopping on a motorcycle. In typical Japanese fashion, the episode ends with the group combining to become a giant robot, and Ladybug even uses her lucky charm to get her own giant robot that Kagami powers up with her Thunder Dragon powers, which I thought was pretty cool, not gonna lie. But the real fun was how they tied this giant robot into the themes of the show. With a team of characters from around the world, they're all gonna be a little different and have a hard time working together, but the show is about them coming together and acting as one unit. But when all of them combine, they get this giant robot, representing how they're moving in unity and working together. And it sets up this fun idea that every episode can have a different number of them coming together in order to use some power that they can only use with that exact number. And with the two robots, the team's able to defeat the bad guys and save everyone from being turned into kaijus, and hopefully they keep this kaiju thing up with the actual show, because it's pretty seriously scary and just works so well in this elsewise lighthearted superhero world. And of course, it makes sense to keep sending more of them from the modeler and the force that he's working for, which is the Supreme. For those who don't remember, the Supreme was the villain mentioned in the Miraculous World Paris special who's conquered an alternate dimension. It is even in charge of the Miraculous box there, handing them out to people to be villains instead of heroes. It's hard to say if this is the Supreme from this world, or if maybe the Supreme is some sort of overarching united force that connects all the worlds and is just trying to find a way to escape in any one of them. But for more information on that, be sure to subscribe here, as we'll definitely be making more videos about this show once it finally airs on Disney+. And if you want to talk more about Miraculous Ladybug in the meantime, come hang out in the Cartoon Universe Discord server. Link in the pinned comment down below, and I'll see you guys there.